Hi book lovers! Welcome to my channel. As a non-native English speaker, I used to have a very hard time choosing the right book to read. And I used to believe that reading is all about perseverance. That means it doesn't matter how long or how hard the book is. If you persevere, one day you will finish the book. And to me, at that time, I believed that finishing a book is like the ultimate goal as a reader that you cannot fall through. And boy, was I wrong. Well, it's true that if you really push forward, you would finally finish a book one day. However, that doesn't guarantee that you would enjoy the process of reading, and it doesn't guarantee that you would understand the story on a deeper level, which might lead to boredom and bad impression on the overall story. And what's even worse is that you might trick your brain into thinking that reading is boring, reading is taking too much time and energy out of your life to decipher the hidden meanings. And you might give up reading altogether, which I think that is a very wasted opportunity for you to finally discover your dream book in the future. And you know what? To be a reader doesn't mean that you need to read the longest and wildest book that you can find. It just means you need to read and just enjoy the book, enjoy what you are reading, and also you might get something along the way, which is like something like a bonus point. Not every book is hard and complicated to understand and long, comes with different series, different books to finish. Not every book is like that, and you don't have to start with something like that even. So in today's video, I have some book recommendations for you guys who decided to start reading in English and do not know what to start with. So these books that I'm going to talk about in today's video is pretty short and sweet. They are no longer than 300 pages. The language in the book is very, very accessible and easy to follow. And the third thing that I'm thinking about when I'm making this list is the contents. The contents of the book needs to be interesting. That means it has to be fun to read, or at least like thought-provoking in a way. And for the sake of variety, I try to cover different genres. So I have fiction, non-fiction, I have comedy, I have fantasy, and I also have some children literature that can be enjoyed by both adults and children. So without further ado, let's start with the first book that I want to talk about. Let's go. I couldn't find my hard copy of this book, which is unfortunate, and is also the sign that I really need to rearrange my bookshelf. Yeah, that could be another task for another day. But the first book that I would like to recommend to you guys is Tuesdays with Morrie by Mitch Albom. This book is a very fast read. I remembered I had no idea what this book was about, but I heard a lot of good things about it, and when I saw it on the shelf in the bookstore, I was like, okay, I want to try this out, and it's pretty short as well. So what really surprised me when I read this book was the short chapters. It was like very short, like we are reading a diary or a news article even, and which is pretty good because that means you can enjoy this book like during rush hours, for example, like on your way to work or on your lunch break, something like that, and you still get to finish the chapter, you know? And that is like a little bit of sense of achievement during the day that could really push you forward. So this book is the only non-fiction that I have on the list, and it is a memoir that records the conversation between Mitch Albom, the author himself, and his late professor that's called Morrie, who was unfortunately suffering from a terminal illness. I really like how this book is very straightforward and concise, and it can be a little bit preachy from time to time, I have to say. However, I still enjoy my time reading this book, and I have to say that I really admire Morrie's perspective in life, that I think to myself that if I were to reach that point in my life when my body is as frail and fragile as Morrie's was, would I be able to keep my cool and my wisdom like Morrie did? I wish I could. So yeah, that is the first book that I would like to recommend to you guys. If you're not a very big fan on fiction books, Tuesdays with Morrie could be one of your choices. Alright, it's time to dip our toes into fiction books. The second book that I would like to recommend to you guys is Skipping Christmas by John Grisham. John Grisham is famous for his legal thriller books. However, this one is a comedy, which I was surprised by and immediately drawn to. Skipping Christmas is a story about a couple, Nora and Luther Crank. So after their beloved daughter Blair moves away from home, Luther calculates that they spent over $6,000 on their previous Christmas. So to avoid commercialism, stress, and also the loneliness of the first Christmas without Blair, Luther convinces Nora that we need to boycott the holidays. No decorations, no cards, no charity donations whatsoever, and spend the money on the luxurious cruise to the Caribbean, which will depart on the Christmas day. I would describe this book chaotic and funny. Well, I get to see the perspective of people who are very invested in traditions, that they are willing to cross that line of privacy of others. And it's just frustrating in a way, but also humorous. Like, how dare you do this? Like, what's your problem? But I still enjoy the book very much, and it ends on a pretty sweet note. So I'm happy. And this book doesn't have any dense or poetic metaphors, so no worries about complications and stuff like that. And you will get to see the common idioms that you might pick from here and there to use in your everyday life. And it's about Christmas. Who doesn't love Christmas? Well, I do. Coming in third is Fantastic Mr. Fox by Roald Dahl. When I started reading in English, I read a lot of Dahl's works. I read Fantastic Mr. Fox, I read The BFG, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Matilda, SEO Trot. I read just so many of his works, and I love his works so much because they are so funny, they are magical, and they are dark. However, the one that really stuck in my head until this day, I have to say, is Fantastic Mr. Fox. And Fantastic Mr. Fox is a story about a smart fox who keeps stealing from the three farmers to feed his family. The three farmers are mean and nasty, by the way, and they tried every possible way to get rid of Mr. Fox. And Mr. Fox is always one step ahead of them, or two step, or three step. So this book is like brain versus brawn dynamic, thinking Kevin from Home Alone, but in a fox version. And I have to say that every page, every encounter is so satisfyingly funny to read. Are you ready for number 4? I have to say that this book is super popular. I see it everywhere, literally everywhere. And that is The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. I'm sorry, I don't speak French, and I should have looked it up. My apologies. So this book was recommended to me by a friend, and I thank him for it because I really like this book. And look at how thin the book is. I have to say that the length is super manageable. According to the ones that I have in my hand right now, it has, 90 pages. Well, this one doesn't have the page number, but the previous page is page 89, so only 90 pages. And another thing that I like about this book is that it has pretty whimsical visual context, as you can see along the way. Just like that. It's so lovely to see. And the chapter, can we call that chapter? I don't know. Like, they are super short for some chapters. As you may know, this book is originally written in French, but the English version is also beautiful and easy to read. Another thing that I really like about this book is the two-tier experience. That is to say, you can read this book just for fun, alright? It's a story about the little prince and his adventure, I would say. But if you read a little bit deeper, it's like the allegory of human nature, love, loneliness, and the absurdity of adult life. Being an adult is hard, but is it hard by itself, or are we the ones who make it hard? Last but not least, I don't really see a lot of people talk about this book, but I love this book so much. I read this book when I was in college for one of the courses, and it is Tuck Everlasting by Natalie Babbitt. Tuck Everlasting is a children's literature with more mature content. It tackles immortality, life, and death, and the book itself can be enjoyed by anyone. It is a low fantasy and a coming-of-age story of Winnie Foster, who wishes to have a free life. She found this boy named Jesse, and he was drinking from this hidden spring. She wanted to drink from that spring too, but Jesse stopped her. She was later told that that was the magical spring of immortality. Just a tiny sip would change her life forever. And Jesse's family, or the Tuck family, are the ones who are affected by the power of the spring. They cannot be dead and gone. First thing first, I just really love the name of the book, Tuck Everlasting. It sounds pretty romantic to me personally. And I really like the book that asks questions about existential crisis. And Tuck Everlasting is just that. I really like the allegory that one of the characters used to explain to Winnie about being immortal can bring upon some kind of emptiness, because you can see the world goes by, but you are the one who got stuck. It's like being out of the wheel of life. This book has very short chapters as well. It might not be as short as The Little Prince or Tuesdays with Morrie, but it's still pretty short, like not more than 5 or 6 pages, and then you're done. Like that. See? This book also gives me new perspective in life as a teenager as well. As I said, I was reading this book when I was in college, so I was like early 20, and I felt invincible at that time, which I think a lot of teenagers might feel the same way. But after I read this book, I realized that, well, I'm not invincible, and I can't live forever. Whatever I do, wherever I go, I need to think twice so that I don't have anything to be regret of. And even though I was given the choice of living forever, that might not be the answer to happiness, you know, because you might feel the same thing as the Tuck family, where you felt like, okay, this is like too much. I need an end to this. but that end will never comes, which is kind of depressing, and it makes me see the value of my life. I just like this book very much, and I really am thankful for my professor, Mr. Frank, who assigned this book for us to read. He's my favorite professor from my college time. So shout out. I don't know if he's gonna see this video, but shout out to you, Mr. Frank. Those are the 5 books that I recommend to you if you decided to read in English and do not know what to start with. You can try these 5 books out. And if you do try them out, please let me know how you feel and what you think about them. Do you like them? Which one do you agree or disagree with me? I would love to read your comment, and we can have a little discussion on the comment section as well. That would be really fun. And for today, thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!